So here's the vocab for lesson 2-6, and the vocabulary that we have is unlike fractions, and those are fractions with different denominators. So in the example, I have 2/3 plus 1/2. Those have unlike denominators because I have a 3 and a 2. So notes 3-6 is on adding and subtracting unlike fractions. We're going to add and subtract unlike fractions. The Common Core State Standards and the mathematical practices are listed. So it says to add or subtract fractions with unlike denominators. We're going to rename the fractions with a common denominator, then follow the rules for adding and subtracting like fractions. So it says find each sum or difference. Number 1 is 1/4 plus 2/3. These have unlike denominators. The first one has a 4, the second one has a 3. So you want to create an equivalent fraction with a common denominator. So 4 and 3 both go into 12. So we have to rename our fractions 1/4 and 2/3. So going from 4 to 12, you multiply by 3. So what you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So 1/4 is the same thing as 3/12. Then 3 times 4 gives you 12. So 4 times 2 is 8. Now we add our numerator together, which gives us 11 over 12. So our answer is 11/12. In number 2, we have 2/5 minus 3/4. Our common denominator that they both go into is 20. So 5 times 4 is 20, 2 times 4 is 8, 4 times 5 is 20, 3 times 5 is 15. Now that we have a common denominator, we subtract our numerators. But we have 8 minus 15. So we're going to keep our denominator the same. We're going to rewrite subtraction as adding the opposite. So now I have 8 plus a negative 15. So we take the sign of the larger number, which is negative, and subtract 15 minus 8, which is 7. So our answer is negative 7/20. Number 3 is negative 3/8 plus a negative 5/6. First thing we need to do is find a common denominator. So it's negative something plus another negative number. 6 and 8 both go into 24. So 8 times 3 is 24, and 3 times 3 is 9. 6 times 4 is 24. So 5 times 4 is 20. So now we have negative 9/24 plus a negative 20/24. We keep our denominator the same, and we add our numerators. So it's negative 9 plus a negative 20 to give you negative 29. Now we have an improper fraction. It's still going to be negative when we rename it. 24 goes into 29 one time with 5/24 left over. So our answer is negative 1 and 5/24. For number 4, we can also write these vertically, 8 and 5/18 minus 6 and 7/12. The common denominator that they would both have in common is 36. So 8 and something over 36 minus 6 and something over 36. 12 times 3 gives you 36, so 7 times 3 is 21. 18 times 2 is 36, so 2 times 5 is 10, and we're subtracting. We need to subtract the numerators, but we can't do 10 minus 21, so we're going to borrow from the 8, make it a 7, and 36 plus 10 gives us 46. Now we can subtract. 46 minus 21 gives you 25 over common denominator of 36, and 7 minus 6 is 1. So it's 1 and 25/36. Number 5, 1 and 2/9 plus negative 2 and 1/3. So because we're adding with different signs, we need to take the sign of the larger number. So our answer is going to be negative. And then we subtract. So we have to rewrite it, the larger fraction subtracting the smaller one. So we always want to rewrite and do the larger minus the smaller. Once we do that, we need to find a common denominator. 3 and 9 both go into 9. So it's 2 and something over 9 minus 1 and 2/9. So we don't have to change the second fraction. 3 times 3 is 9, so 1 times 3 is 3. Now we can subtract 3 minus 2 is 1 over 9. 2 minus 1 is 1, but now we need to put our answer up in the answer box because it's negative. So it's negative 1 and 1/9. Number 6 is negative 2 and 1/8 plus a negative 3 and 2/3. We're adding the same signs, so we're going to keep the sign and add. So our answer is going to be negative. So now I'm going to keep the sign and I'm going to add them. So we can either do it vertically or horizontally. I'm going to do it vertically. These are both negative, but I already put my sign in my answer box. So now I have negative 2 and 8 and 3 both go into 24. And it's plus a negative 3 and something over 24. So 8 times 3 is 24, so 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 8 is 24, so 2 times 8 is 16. Now we're adding. So 3 plus 16 gives us 19 over 24, and a negative 2 plus a negative 3 gives us a negative 5. So our answer is 5 and 19/24. Number 7 is negative 4 and 2/3 minus 3 and 3/4. So because we have a negative and we're subtracting, we're going to rewrite this to adding the opposite, just like we did with integers. Now we're adding with the same sign. So we're going to keep the sign the same and add. So I'm going to put my negative in my answer box. Now I'm going to add, so 4 and 2/3, or negative 4 and 2/3, plus a negative 3 and 3/4. Find a common denominator. So our common denominator, we have our denominator of 3 and 4, so they both go into 12. So 3 times 4 is 12, so 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. Now we're adding with same signs. So we have 8 plus 9, which is 17 over 12, and negative 4 plus a negative 3, which gives us negative 7. But you notice that our fraction part is 17/12, so that's improper. So we're going to rename this part here. So 12 goes into 17 one time with 5/12 left over. So we just renamed the 17/12. Now we're going to add that to the 7. So that becomes 8 and 5/12. Since we attached it to our negative, because we had the same signs, it's negative 8 and 5/12. For number 8, we have negative 2 and 3/8 plus 1 and 3/4 plus a negative half. So the first thing we need to do is find a common denominator, and they all go into 8. So negative 2 and 3/8 plus 1 and 6/8 plus, gotta multiply the 2 by 4, so 1 by 4, negative 4/8. Now just like we did with integers, we can add our negatives together. So same signs, keep the sign and add. So that gives us a negative. 3 and 4 give us 7 over 8. And then 2 plus no whole number out in front. So it gives us negative 2 and 7/8 plus 1 and 6/8. Now at this point here, we take the sign of the larger number, which would be negative. I'm going to put it in my answer box. And now I have to rewrite it. I have to take the larger one minus the smaller one. So 7 minus 6 is 1 over 8, and 2 minus 1 is 1. So it's negative 1 and 1/8. On the last problem, it's problem solving with mixed numbers and fractions. It says Tyler needs 1 and 2/3 cups of shredded cheese to put in his enchilada casserole and 3/4 of cheese for the top. If he has 3 cups of cheese in all, how much cheese will he have left? So Tyler needs 1 and 2/3 cups of shredded cheese and 3/4 for the top. So we can add those two amounts together. This is how much he's using. Find a common denominator. which would be 12. So we have to multiply the first fraction by 4 and the second one by 3. So this gives us 1 8/12 and 9/12. We add those two together and we end up getting 1 17/12. This is how much he's used, but it's improper. So we're going to rename it. 12 goes into 17 one time, so add that to the 1, and you have 5/12 left over. This is how much he used. We want to find out how much he has left. Well, if he starts with 3 cups, we have 3 cups minus 2 5/12. So we can subtract. We don't have any fractions, so we're going to borrow. This becomes a 2 12/12. So 12 minus 5 is 7 over 12. And then 2 minus 2 is 0, so he has 7/12 cups left.